Every day, millions of trucks roll past you on the highway. But here's something most people never think about. Inside that cab, someone's living. Not just driving, they're actually living. Cooking meals, sleeping, spending weeks, sometimes months out on the road without ever going home. And they do all of it inside that cab. Now, you've probably seen American trucks before. A Peterbilt, a Kenworth, those long noses stretching out in front. European trucks are built completely differently. Strict length laws forced manufacturers there to move the engine underneath the cab. That's why European trucks have that flat, boxy front. No hood, no long nose. From the outside, they look far too small for someone to actually live in. But you open that door and you climb those steps, and what you find inside will genuinely surprise you. In this video, we're going to show you exactly how European truck drivers eat, sleep, shower, and survive for months at a time, including some things that don't make it into the brochure. So, why does a European truck look the way it does? EU regulations limit the total length of a truck and trailer to just 18.75 meters. That's about 61.5 feet. Most of that length needs to be used for cargo, so the cab has to be as short as possible. The solution? Put the engine underneath the driver. That way there's no hood, no long nose, just a flat, boxy front. And from the outside it looks cramped. It looks uncomfortable. But here's where it gets interesting. Because there's no engine tunnel running through the middle of the floor, something American trucks deal with, European cabs have a completely flat floor, wall to wall. And that changes everything. You step inside and you'll find a proper bed, not a fold-out shelf, an actual mattress up to 1 meter wide and over 2 meters long. There's a built-in fridge, power outlets, overhead storage, and climate control that runs without the engine on, so drivers can stay warm or cool throughout the night without burning diesel. The ceiling is high enough to stand in, the windows are large. It's not a luxury apartment, but it is generally impressive for what it is. And there's one small detail that will tell you everything about how drivers treat this space. Shoes stay outside. Every driver does it. You take them off on the steps before you climb in. 5 square meters, but it's theirs. So is it actually legal to sleep in there? The answer is yes and no. And it depends on which night of the week it is. Every truck in Europe runs with a tachograph, a device that logs every minute behind the wheel. There's no cheating it. Under EU rules, a driver can spend a maximum of 9 hours behind the wheel every day. After that, you have to have a rest for at least 11 hours. That daily rest is allowed in the cab, truck parked, curtains closed, done. That's the normal routine. But then comes the weekend. Every week, drivers must take a 45-hour uninterrupted rest period. And here's where it gets surprising. Those 45 hours, it's officially illegal to spend it in the cab. Employers are legally required to either get their driver home for the weekend or pay for a proper hotel, a real bed, a real bathroom. Company pays. In practice, many drivers simply don't do this. The logistics are complicated, the enforcement is inconsistent, so they park up, close the curtains, and sleep in the cab anyway. In one enforcement campaign in Sweden, more than 1 in 3 trucks was breaking this exact rule. It's one of the most quietly ignored laws in European transport. On the nights drivers do sleep in the cab, the setup is genuinely well engineered for it. Blackout curtains, noise insulation, an auxiliary heating system that keeps temperature stable, whether it's a warm evening in southern France or a freezing night in a truck stop in Romania. And that's where most of these drivers actually sleep. Not at home, not in a hotel. In a parking lot, somewhere along the route, curtains closed, engines off, for weeks at a time. All right, now we need to talk about the part that nobody really likes to bring up, because There's no toilet in the cab. There's no shower either. For a person living in that space for weeks at a time, that creates a very specific set of daily challenges that most people have never had to think about. Let's start with a shower. Across Europe, most major truck stops offer paid shower facilities. You pull in, you pay usually somewhere between 5 and 10 euros, and you get a shower cubicle for a set amount of time. In Western Europe, in the bigger, more modern truck stops along the main corridors, like Germany, the Netherlands, France, and Belgium, these facilities are generally decent, clean enough, and functional. But you move further east and the picture changes. Truck stops in parts of Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, the facilities can be a different story entirely. Metal cubicles, cold water, shared spaces with no privacy. Drivers who do Eastern European routes know exactly which stops are worth it and which ones to avoid. That knowledge gets passed around, and it becomes part of how you plan your trips. And on the nights where there's no truck stop nearby, you don't shower. That's the reality. Some drivers go multiple days between showers, depending on the route and what's available. It's not laziness, it's geography. You park where the regulations allow, where there's space, where it's safe, and sometimes that place doesn't have a shower block within walking distance. Now, the toilet situation. During the day, it's manageable. Rest stops, petrol stations, truck stops, there's options. But at night, parked up on a lorry park somewhere in Europe, it's a different story. A driver wakes up at 2 a.m, he's got to go to the toilet. So they climb down from the cab, in the dark, in whatever the weather is doing, and they walk between rows of parked trucks to find the facilities. In winter, that might mean stepping out into freezing temperatures. In the summer, it might mean walking through a poorly lit car park at 3 a.m. This is not an occasional thing. This is every night. This is routine. Some drivers keep a portable toilet in the cab for exactly this reason. It's not glamorous, but it's practical. But for now, for most drivers on most nights on most routes, this is what hygiene looks like on the road. A paid shower when you can find one, a walk across a dark parking lot when you need to use the toilet, laundry done at a roadside washing machine at a truck stop, or clothes hung up to dry inside the cab overnight. 5 square meters, weeks away from home. And somehow, most of these drivers make it work. But what about food? A European trucker may be away from home for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks at a time. That's 20 or 30 meals on the road. Not in restaurants, not at a kitchen table, in 5 square meters, parked on the side of a motorway somewhere in Central Europe. The first thing most people assume is that truck drivers live on fast food and petrol station sandwiches. And some do. But a growing number cook properly, right there in the cab. A small portable induction cooktop, a mini microwave, and sometimes even an air fryer. Some use a small gas burner outside the truck or on warmer evenings, cooking next to the rig as the sun goes down. There's a practical reason behind that, too. Eating at a truck stop every day is expensive. And health data tells its own story. A study of over 400 European long-haul drivers found that only 24% were of a healthy weight, 46% were overweight, 30% were obese, and it's all because of irregular meal times, long hours of sitting, and convenience food available at every truck stop. It adds up. Now, many drivers leave on a Sunday. That's when most shops in Europe are closed, so they prepare everything in advance. A container of homemade stew, a bag of fruit, enough to get through the first few days. After that, it depends entirely on the route. A driver, let's say, crossing from the Netherlands into Germany has easy access to well-stocked motorway services. A driver spending 3 days in rural Romania is working with whatever's in the fridge. Every day on the road is a small logistics operation in itself, and food is a big part of it. So now you have the full picture. The cab, the bed, the cooking, the showers, and the parking lots in the dark. But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's probably the hardest part of all: the silence. When that engine turns off and the curtains closed, it's just you, in 5 square meters, somewhere in Europe that's far away from home. Nearly 28% of truck drivers suffer from loneliness. That's more than 1 in 4. 27% report depression. You miss your child's birthday because you're parked at a truck stop in Germany. You call home at 8 in the evening, and by 9 the curtains are closed and you're alone again. And yet, you talk to drivers who've been doing this for 10, 15, or 20 years, and most of them wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the freedom, the simplicity, a sunrise over the Alps, the coast of Croatia at 6 in the morning with no other traffic in sight. These drivers see a version of Europe that most people never do. That small, carefully organized 5 square meters becomes familiar. It becomes theirs. It becomes home. So the next time a truck pulls up alongside you on the motorway, that flat-nosed Scania, Volvo, or a DAF, think about what's happening behind that windshield. Someone is crossing a continent. Someone is going to park up tonight, making themselves a meal, close the curtains, and sleep in a space smaller than your bathroom. And tomorrow morning, they'll do it all again. If you're a trucker on the European highways, what's the one thing you wish people understood about life on the road? And if you've never driven a truck, you think you could do it? Weeks away from home? 5 square meters somewhere in Europe? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot. It helps us out. And I'll see you down the road.